So, I am trans. I mean, clearly, like, look at me. You can call me Chloe. This is one of many reasons as to why I've not really been making videos here. If you're watching this, you're probably thinking one of a few things. Who are you? What do you do? Or maybe even, why am I subscribed? That last one wouldn't surprise me. I have long struggled to maintain a long-term audience here, and so I've picked up subscribers of all kinds along the way. But more on that later. But let's answer these, and first I'll tell you a story. My life has changed so much in the last 2 years, even in the last 12 months. If you would have told me a year ago that I'd be where I am now, with the job that I have, looking like this and taking all kinds of, drugs, I simply wouldn't have believed you. It's crazy how much can change in just 1 year, let alone two. In 1994, on July 22nd, at around 10:30 p.m. local time, in Newcastle upon Tyne in northeastern England, I was born a boy, obviously. For the first several years of my life, I don't think I had a grasp of what gender was. By the time I got into high school, though, I knew something was up with me. Something was a little bit sus, and I wasn't sure what it was. I was never taught about transgender lives, even in social issues classes, and that is a major failing and shame on the school that I attended in Newcastle, and I will forever hold that against them. But to wrap up that section of my life, I hated being a boy, even more so in hindsight. I only learned about transgender people's existence for the first time when I was 18, left school, and even then, I only discovered the topic through a YouTube video by a trans man also living here in the UK. And that, blew my mind. You can change your gender, as in go through a process to affirm the gender you actually are. I was already going through a lot in that time of my life, and I'm not going to go into that here, but gender-wise for the next few years, I was going in and out of depression trying to figure out what was wrong with me, until I realized what I needed to do as a closeted trans person. I suppressed it. I didn't follow through. I was scared, and that was in 2015. I was 20 and a half years old. Though I had pulled myself out of my depression as I discovered something new about myself, I now had to carry around this luggage in the form of gender dysphoria everywhere I went. What will my family think? What will my friends think? These are all the kinds of things that were on my mind during this time. And that pressure was just not something that was easy to deal with. For the following 5 years, I kept it a secret from everyone. For a time, I thought I was going to take it to my grave. But something happened in the second half of that decade. Two things. The first, I had a brief romance with a young woman in 2018, where I realized I simply cannot be a man. And secondly, being trans became more accepted in society. More and more people were coming out and telling their story. I eventually began my transition in 2020, began presenting differently, and I started taking hormones a little while ago, and well, here we are. I feel like most people who come out as trans, especially in their 20s and upward, there is always that feeling of wishing you had done it sooner, and while I share that feeling, I always think to how lucky I am to be 27 now and be able to live out the rest of my 20s who I really am. Them 30s are fast approaching, and while I feel confident in my age, I want to be able to go into my 30s as a confident new woman. Make them a good 30s, make it a good one. That's my goal. I say all of that, but I cannot shake the feeling that if I had the resources when I was younger, if my school had done more to teach about LGBTQ plus issues, then things could have been way different. And believe me, to my recollection, I don't even think gay issues were taught while I was there. Sex education was all about the straights. Had someone just told me that there were options, my 20s years would have been so different and worlds apart from how they actually turned out. Sheltered away, trying to figure out how I was going to live out the rest of my life completely alone. You know, there are a lot of people, especially here in the UK, who believe that teaching trans and other social issues in school is wrong, and some go as far as to call it child abuse. But take it from someone who grew up to be trans, that would have helped me immensely, and I think it's child abuse to not teach it and deny children of those options. There is still a long way to go, especially here in the UK. Our National Health Service waiting times to get into gender identity clinics is objectively appalling. With more acceptance has come more pushback from certain sectors of society, for reasons that are completely in bad faith and based in the fear of what people don't understand. The BBC recently published an article which gave a voice and a platform to someone who effectively called for the lynching and execution of people like me. That aside, where do I go from here? Well, if you're wondering, yes, it will happen. You know. I am very lucky to be able to call myself a full-time YouTuber. Not here, of course. I have another channel where I make documentaries about airplanes. It's a whole thing. But I've been at this for a long time. My tenure and career as a video maker goes back to 2010. It took me 10 years to finally get this whole YouTube thing going, and it's my job now. Since the start of this year, I've been doing it full time, and I love it. It's rewarding work. And I use this space, this channel, to post everything else. My music, my compositions, performances, and just miscellaneous videos like this. My dream and goal as a singer-songwriter is to one day do Eurovision in some capacity. I also want to expand my orchestral portfolio and write more symphonies and so on. And with all that being said, I would just like to say thank you for watching, and have a good evening, and goodbye.